This is Chris Pettit down in Florida. Lovely, I don't know, insert meme here. I'm the director of the Office of Agriculture and Water Policy for the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services here. We have oversight authority, and I'm gonna kind of run through just a brief overview of as we've been going through COVID. There's been a number of policy changes in the lovely state of Florida that have been implemented, and just to kind of review, our conservation districts have a much more limited area of statutory and regulatory authority than a lot of other places. They do a lot of education and outreach work. They don't have a whole lot of budgetary authority or dollars. They do provide a lot of assistance. We utilize them on a contract basis to supplement my FTEs for the implementation of the Best Management Practices program. We also utilize them to help us administer our cost share program, but they're very much more in the form of administrative kind of pass-through entities and localized outreach and education boards that do a lot of interaction with us, a lot of interaction with their local governments, a lot of interaction with University of Florida, the IFAS extension agents, and some other outreach agencies. So in Florida, we've long had a program, just like everywhere else, where we've got best management practices. It has kind of trended a bit more regulatory over time in that we have to take into consideration economic and technical feasibility at the BMP development stage before they're incorporated into rule. They have to be, and again, based on best scientific and technical information. We very closely team with our university system on that. We have to balance production with water resource protection, which leads to some interesting governance conversations in the field. We develop those BMPs, we adopt them into rule. The conservation districts and their on-the-ground communications help us with a lot of the public comment and feedback. We have some very interesting cost share programs I'll touch upon. We're very, very involved with the conservation districts on the research side, and we've had some very interesting changes as it relates to the way that we do implementation verification of the proper implementation of those BMPs that has some pretty interesting impacts on the districts. So we have, as total maximum daily loads are developed, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection goes ahead and puts together basin management action plans that have allocations and have prescribed projects and things that need to be implemented. A key piece of that is our best management practices program and the way in which producers go ahead and are able to implement the applicable BMPs to attain their presumption of compliance with state water quality standards, or in the alternative, should they elect not to, they have to go into a farmer funded program of water quality monitoring at the producer's expense, again, to demonstrate that they are not causing or contributing to a violation of water quality standards. We've got, as you'll note, a number of manuals. We're in the process. I was a new director coming in under the new Commissioner of Agriculture. We've been asked to update all of our manuals, go ahead and run that through the administrative legal ringer to go ahead and incorporate the latest and greatest in both production practices and science and technical literature. As we are all aware, we've been focusing on a number of, in all of our areas of jurisdiction as well as nationally, there's just been a very interesting focus on getting the most precise, efficient, effective nutrient management, irrigation management, water resource management BMPs in place. The way that I like to talk about it in terms of metaphors in this state is, hey, we've got probably 5 or 6 different states in one. We also have the 3rd largest population stuffed into the 22nd largest state by geography, with some of the most sensitive ecological resources on the planet. And since the Colusa Indians started doing alterations on the Caloosahatchee River, what is now the Caloosahatchee River, we've had a bowl that drops have been falling into, and every once in a while, Mother Nature loves to come along in the form of a big spinning storm and stick a big wooden mallet in and wash it about. So we try and reduce the drops going into an already overflowing bowl as much as possible to increase efficiency on the landscape. We've been dealing a lot with precision agriculture. We've been dealing a lot with innovative next generation practices, and again, the conservation districts and their role in the community have played just a distinctive role in helping us implement those. Doing a lot of water resource protection across the landscape at the moment. This middle picture you're seeing is a bioreactor that we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of water management on site. It's been a very, very interesting time in terms of some kind of longer lasting type of water resource management projects. We do a ton of research. Again, one of our updates is traditionally our funding comes from the legislature in the form of a lump sum for best management practice implementation that we then kind of split out within our policy framework. We are now being tasked with working with all kinds of different stakeholders, research universities, anybody with an agricultural program, the Department of Environmental Protection, and coming up with a dedicated research plan that will then be subject to a legislative budget request. There's benefits and disadvantages to that in that, legislature oftentimes sees value, has been very generous in appropriations funding. However, in times when budgets are challenging, as many of us have faced, oftentimes research budgets have been the first to kind of get cut, and our BMP budget is extremely valuable in making sure that we're able to maintain our collaborative relationship with the producers to make sure that the BMPs are being implemented properly. So it's a very interesting conversation ongoing at the moment. There we go. Cost share, there's a nice delay. We talked about cost share, and a lot of folks have spoken about that. Again, we've actually taken a new look at our cost share and kind of revitalized in terms of how we're determining what biggest bang for the buck is and how it's determined. Targeted areas, we do save some dollars for smaller, medium-sized, impacted producers in certain areas to go ahead and make sure that we're able to get those BMPs implemented. We also do a ton of leveraging with our regional water management districts, the collaborative agency frameworks that we have with the Department of Environmental Protection, as well as with NRCS, which I know a number of us do. Here's the interesting thing that's now come out that I thought would be of interest to everybody. We have record-keeping requirements in our best management practices manuals that allow us to go ahead and do our compliance checks, and we require and ask producers to maintain records of every nutrient application on the landscape. There's a process that we have in place, as you're seeing on the screen, to verify the status of proper implementation. We go ahead and do that through the analysis of the records and making sure that folks are meeting recommended rates or implementing other mitigating BMPs. Conservation districts help us out with that through the utilization of technicians that we hire under contract with them, oftentimes because they know their producers and their areas. We also have a significant number of FTEs. The primary use of our data is actually for an annual report that we do. And as I noted in this last bullet, there's a very large workload that's associated. What's involved in the nutrient management? We've got to quantify all the sources. We count both commercial fertilizers and that with an analysis. We also look at book values for your traditional manure sources, chicken litter, floor sweepings, etc. We do require nutrient planning. This has been a historical result of our program as it's been implemented over the last 20 years. The new language has been really, really interesting because there's a lot of interesting change as it relates to the temporal aspects of our program. We have had the discretion as we've gotten out and had the resources to do our implementation verification visits, we're now being required to do that over a 2-year period. There's the continuation of what's called collect and review of records that we end up providing back to the landowner. But within the BMAP context, with FDEP, we are now being required to retain nitrogen and phosphorus records, and we've had to develop a form template to allow producers to protect the underlying production records and provide us just that N&P application data. The information that we get out of that, we are now required to turn over to DEP for utilization within that water quality context. And it becomes very interesting in that we're looking at the universe through a pinhole in certain ways, in that you're not necessarily seeing yield data, export data, those other BMPs that are being implemented. So it is setting up just a very fascinating conversation in terms of data management and how to utilize some of these overarching records and data points to continue to have that collaborative relationship. This is the form that we've developed. It's a very interesting just amalgamation of essentially when applications taking place, under which manual and enrollment is occurring, what commodities are being grown. We've got 300 and some odd here in the state of Florida that continues to increase, what nutrient sources are being used, and then total pounds of nitrogen and phosphorus over the production acreage. This is the website that you can access to kind of see some of our cool information. Bunch of frequently asked questions, bunch of mobile irrigation lab pieces on the irrigation side. You can see our planning and other responsibilities. This is a very fascinating report that we do every year that's very good information as it relates to the way in which our program is being implemented. And the last thing I just wanted to run by everybody and give an update of some of the cool stuff that I've got my millennials and exennials, I guess, doing. We're working on updating some really cool technical assistance tools as it relates to recommended rates, research that's out there in terms of nutrient management, irrigation management. A number of us are familiar with the 4Rs framework, which is something that the Nature Conservancy nationwide has been working on. We've partnered to put together apps that you can find. It's the 4Rs app, nutrient management app. You can find it on both Apple and Android. We're utilizing it in the field. It's been greatly helpful for both my field staff and producers. We're looking to tighten down our black boxes to defend our programs, but also help the producers dial in how they can be most effective on the landscape in implementing BMPs. So they've been invaluable in getting these algorithms together to calculate how we can be most effective in implementing our programs. So with that, and I think I ran just a touch over my 10 minutes, I wanted to give you a Florida sunset, say thank you, turn it back over to Ray and take any questions, or feel free to shoot them to the email you see below.